The bus station smelled of diesel, hot asphalt, and the faint tang of fried food drifting from the vendor stalls. Travelers shuffled across the tiled floor, dragging bags, checking tickets, and casting impatient glances at the clock that glared down from the far wall. It was an ordinary, almost forgettable Saturday afternoon until the security checkpoint turned into a stage. Maya Collins stepped forward in line, adjusting the strap of her worn backpack. She was tired from the long ride from the small town where she had spent the past week, visiting her grandmother. Her layover in this bustling city meant a 2-hour wait before her connecting bus, and the security guards stationed by the checkpoint seemed intent on making everyone's delay even longer. The guard nearest the conveyor belt looked restless, as though the monotony of the day had frayed his patience. He barked instructions at travelers to open your bag, remove liquids, step aside if asked. His nameplate read Officer J. Hanley. You noted his sharp eyes and the faint sneer at the corner of his lips. She was next. Bag on the table, Hanley said, voice clipped. Maya complied, placing her faded canvas backpack on the surface. It was heavy with books, a carefully wrapped tin of cookies her grandmother insisted she take, a pair of sneakers, and something folded neatly at the very bottom. Hanley unzipped it with unnecessary force, rummaging through as though he were hunting contraband. He pulled out the sneakers, flipped through the pages of her paperback novel, and rattled the tin of cookies. His colleague, Officer Green, wandered over, arms crossed, his expression carrying the bored interest of someone looking for entertainment. "Well, what have we here?" Hanley muttered loudly enough for the line of passengers to hear. "Traveling heavy, aren't we?" Maya didn't answer. She wasn't interested in banter, she just wanted her bag back. Hanley dug deeper, shoving aside her toiletries until his hand brushed against the stiff fabric at the bottom. His brows furrowed. "What's this?" He yanked it out with one swift motion and held it high for everyone in line to see. It was a neatly folded military uniform. The olive-green fabric caught the fluorescent light overhead, crisp and unmistakable. The patches stitched on the shoulder bore the insignia of the United States Army. Across the chest was a nameplate, Collins. The air in the terminal seemed to change. Conversations hushed, and eyes turned toward Maya. Hanley froze, uniform still in his hands, the sneer vanishing from his face. Green uncrossed his arms and straightened, his gaze snapping to the embroidered patches. Maya lifted her chin, her calm steady. She hadn't wanted a scene, but Hanley had forced one into existence. "That's mine," she said quietly, her voice carrying farther than she expected in the silence. For a moment, the guard said nothing. Hanley looked at her, then back at the uniform, as though trying to reconcile the young woman standing in front of him with the authority that uniform represented. "You're military?" Green asked, his tone stripped of its earlier boredom. "Yes," Maya replied. "Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army." A murmur rippled through the passengers in line. Some leaned closer, others straightened with sudden respect. Hanley quickly placed the uniform back on the table, almost reverently now. His cheeks flushed, the arrogance replaced with something that looked very much like shame. "Yeah, I didn't mean he stammered. Maya cut him off gently but firmly. "You didn't mean to treat me like everyone else, or you didn't mean to make a spectacle of it?" Her words hung in the air, sharp as steel, a past carved in sacrifice. As Hanley fumbled for a response, Maya's mind flickered back, unbidden, to the road that had brought her here. She had enlisted at 19, driven by equal parts duty and a need to step out of her small town's shadow. Her family carried a long tradition of service. Her father had served in the Marines, her grandfather in World War II. Maya had wanted to carve her own path, to prove she was capable. But the reality of military life had been harsher than she'd imagined. The endless drills, the bone-deep exhaustion, the deployments where days bled into nights under a scorching desert sun. She had stood watch in places where danger lingered like a shadow, where every footstep could trigger something unseen beneath the earth. She had lost friends, good ones, soldiers who had laughed with her during chow, who had promised to celebrate together when they made it home. That uniform was more than cloth. It was a record of blood, sweat, sacrifice. It carried the weight of everything she had endured, everything she had given up. And now, standing in this station, she felt the sting of having it pulled down like a trinket in front of strangers. The shift in the room. The silence broke when an older man in linear gray hair, walking cane in hand, nodded toward Maya. His eyes glistened with something like pride. "Thank you for your service, Sergeant," he said softly. Others echoed him, some murmuring thanks, others straightening their posture as though suddenly aware of the gravity of what they were witnessing. Hanley swallowed hard, visibly rattled. "Ma'am, I apologize. It's procedure to empty bags and hold up people's belongings for entertainment," Maya asked, her tone still calm but edged with ice. Green cleared his throat, shooting Hanley a look that carried more reprimand than his words could. "That won't be necessary, Sergeant Collins. You can repack your things. No further checks." Maya took her uniform back carefully, folding it with the precision that had been drilled into her over years. She slid it into the bottom of her bag once more, tucking it away as if restoring a piece of herself to its rightful place. The people in line watched, respectful, hushed. Maya's quiet strength. She could have left it at that, could have zipped up her bag, taken her seat on the bench near her gate, and let the guards stew in their embarrassment. But Maya had learned something in the army. Silence in the face of disrespect only encouraged it. So, once her bag was packed, she looked directly at Hanley. "You don't know what people carry," she said, her voice steady. "Sometimes it's just clothes, sometimes it's something that cost them years of their life. You might want to think twice before treating it like garbage." Hanley nodded quickly, unable to meet her eyes. Green gave her a small, respectful dip of his head. "Understood, Sergeant." And just like that, the authority in the room shifted. It no longer belonged to the men in uniformed vests with their badges and radios. It belonged to the quiet soldier who had endured more than they could imagine and who needed no raised voice to command the space. Departure. Later, as Maya boarded her connecting bus, she caught sight of the same older man with the cane taking a seat across the aisle. He gave her a small smile. "My son served," he said quietly once the bus pulled away from the station. "I recognize the way you folded that uniform." "With care." Maya returned the smile. "We were taught to treat it with respect. It represents more than just us." The man nodded slowly. "He would have liked to meet you." The hum of the engine filled the silence that followed, but it was a comfortable one. Maya looked out the window at the highway unfurling ahead. She thought of the checkpoint, the shame on the guard's face, the unexpected gratitude from strangers. She thought of her grandmother, who had insisted she carry cookies as though sweetness could shield her granddaughter from the world's harsh edges. And she thought of the uniform folded carefully in her bag. It wasn't just a reminder of what she had endured, it was a reminder of who she was.